All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's City of Cedar Falls City Council meeting for Monday, October 20th. I now call this meeting to order. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Schultz.
Here.
Latta.
Here.
Cruz.
Here.
Hallbaker.
Here.
Canfield.
Here.
Chrisman. Here. Dunn. Here. All members present, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And if willing and able, could everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you, everyone. I'll now look for a motion to approve the regular minutes of October 6th.
So moved. Second.
Motioned and seconded, and any discussion? And any comment from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. Madam Clerk, any agenda revisions?
I have no agenda revisions, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Now we'll move to public forum. So speakers will have one opportunity to speak for up to 5 minutes on topics relevant to city business. If there's any items that are on the agenda later, please wait for that item. So for anything not on the agenda. Is there anyone here from the public that would like to speak tonight? Class, don't all jump up at the same time. All right, seeing none, we will, just name and address, please.
Kent Larson, 4928 Quesada Avenue. I just want to second what you said on the meeting of you just had. Okay. I agree. We need more safety signage at the roundabouts. Currently, anybody that would go through those as a pedestrian is half insane, let alone looking for trouble. So I don't know if the signage is best for the driver or the pedestrian. We've got to figure out which would work best. My other concern is on pedestrian crossings in the city is right across from John Deere, where you walk across there, where you got the new taco place, the old UPS building. I mean, I'm aware of how it works, but it's crazy how many people almost get crushed right there. Because I walk across there because I know I'll get my oil changed, go oversee Dr. Troyer, and I see it all the time. So, and I have installed a 3-channel dash cam because of all the interesting things that roundabouts show me nowadays. So I was just telling Craig that back there. So I just want to let you know that I agree with that. And I also agree with what you said on we have a declining value of the money that just sits in reserve, both interest and what we can purchase down the road. What is it, 13% loss every year just in new orders, new bids for the next year, let alone the depreciation by inflation. So anyway, just want to say that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Larson. Is there anyone else for a public comment this evening? All right, seeing none, we will close public forum and move on to staff updates. And I believe Director Sheets, we got one.
Yeah, just a brief one to announce that the community natatorium is open to the public, so we're very excited about that. This is a shared facility with the school district, so which has been years in the making, and the city contributed almost $9 million to that project. So thank you, City Council, for the support there. On the rec website, we have posted the hours. More lap swim opportunity, but then public swim primarily on the weekends. But as we get used to the facility, understand how we can share times and uses at the same time, we'll be looking forward to additional programming and other announcements about availability. So if you've been waiting for your rental for your birthday party or whatever, please call the rec and reserve it.
Thank you, Director. And again, that thank you to the community for supporting the schools and the project. This is a community natatorium, so it's one of those things where for us as a community, it was a lot more cost-effective to partner on that as a potential asset that all of our community can use. So I know we've got the openings now, and so don't hesitate to reach out. I know it's a nice facility and brings a nice amenity. There's I believe a heated pool and a normal pool, so for people who maybe...
Well, both are heated, Mayor.
Well, a higher temperature pool.
Yes, a little bit warmer, referred to as a therapeutic pool, because it's a couple degrees warmer than what a lap swimmer would normally like, or a swim team member.
Yep. But it's in between tap water and sauna, or hot tub. So, yes, thank you, Director. And I did want to give one more shout out too for this Friday is the Cedar Falls Human Rights Commission's Fall Summit. The theme for this one is Profit with a Purpose. They've got a couple of really good speakers who have done several businesses in the area, but also have designed their businesses around being community engaged, how they can use their business to support the community. And that's 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And if you have any interest, you can find information on their Facebook page or our city website. And I believe you can call the city to get the tickets as well if you need to and talk to our admin team. So otherwise, that will move us to special order of business item number 2. Public hearing on the proposed amendment number 1 to the multi-residential urban revitalization plan for the Cedar Falls multi-residential urban revitalization area. Is there a motion to receive and file proof of publication?
So moved. Second.
Motion seconded, and all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. Madam Clerk, any written communications?
I have no written communications, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And for staff comments, we've got Shane Graham. Thank you, Shane.
Thank you, Mayor. If council may recall, earlier this year, March 3rd, the City Council adopted the Cedar Falls Multi-Residential Urban Revitalization Plan. That encompassed a property near the southeast corner of Green Hill Road and Cedar Heights Drive for a new multifamily development. Since that time, we've had conversations with the owner of the property located at 4711 University Avenue. That property was a former extended stay hotel. The owner has been working to convert it to studio apartments. He's been talking to us about he's got some work to do to finish the project, has inquired about the urban revitalization area to allow for the tax abatement on the work that is yet to be completed. Once that work is then completed, the assessor's office will change that classification from a commercial or a motel to a multi-residential family apartments. So with that, as I noted, a lot of the work has already been done over the past few years. Any of that work that was completed prior to adoption of the urban revitalization plan is not eligible for any tax abatement. It's for any work that's yet to be completed. The owner of the property is aware of that, so the remaining work is the only piece of that would be eligible under the tax abatement plan. So with that, there is a map included with the plan showing that we're adding just that one property. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Shane. Are there any clarifying questions from council at this time? I almost said staff. All right, seeing none. All right, thank you, Shane. And at this point, then we will open up to public comment. Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak on this tonight? All right, seeing none, we will close the public hearing and look for a motion on the resolution approving and adopting amendment number 1 to the multi-residential urban revitalization plan for the Cedar Falls multi-residential urban revitalization area.
So moved. Second.
Motion and seconded and open for council discussion. And if
I was just, Mr. Mayor.
Yep,
sorry.
go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's not totally, but this property overall is drastically improved. As a citizen, as a person who drives by that, I'm very grateful for the work that's been done. So that's it.
Agreed. Thank you, Counselor. All right, otherwise, if there's no other comments, so that will move us to a roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That motion carries. That moves us to item number 3, pass an ordinance amending ordinance number 3097 and designating the multi-residential urban revitalization area for the Cedar Falls multi-residential urban revitalization plan for the city of Cedar Falls, Iowa, amendment number 1, upon its first consideration, approval contingent upon that previous item.
So moved.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion seconded. Any discussion from council? And seeing none, any from the public? Also seeing none, requires a roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That motion carries. Item number 4, public hearing on proposed amendments to Chapter 7, Buildings and Building Regulations of the Code of Ordinances relative to amendments, National Electrical Code adoption, and National Electrical Code amendments. Is there a motion to receive and file?
So moved. Second.
Motion and seconded, and all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk, any written communications?
I have no written communications on file, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And for staff comments, I believe we have Jamie Castle. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Today I'm here to talk about Chapter 7 minor code amendments. So you all have heard these once before. It was brought forth on September 2nd. After a lot of discussion, we decided we needed to have some changes made to a couple of the items. So 2 of those sections were brought back to the October 6th Committee of the Whole, and the following amendments reflect that discussion. I am going to go through each one just as a quick overview so we have a refresher for you and for the public. So the first amendment was, well, first I want to note that the section looks like there are a lot of changes, but again, it's because we had to renumber everything after anything that we added. So there looks like a lot of changes, but there aren't. The second was we did not have a reference back for a municipal infraction. We referenced it in section 1.9, but we didn't actually call it out in chapter 7. So that was simply to add that reference. The next one, this is one that was discussed at the Committee of the Whole, and this is to define a sleeping room. And the final definition that we landed on is any room that can be used for sleeping that contains a closet and a door that can be closed for privacy, and then also referred to as a bedroom. Next, and I'm not going to read this whole thing, but the next one is regarding that stormwater discharge. The concern here was it was only listed in the section regarding disconnection from the sanitary sewer. So we wanted to move it into the building code, the whole portion, so that we had reference to how water had to be handled. This covers new construction and then also the discussed items from last meeting about handling existing or new, however it falls. The next is the National Electrical Code. We are required by the state to follow whatever they have adopted, and so this is a formality to codify that we are following what they say. Currently, our ordinance says that we have adopted the 2020 and any amendments the state has, so technically we have been enforcing the 2023, but we wanted to have it in writing. And then finally, because of the changes that we made to the stormwater discharge when we added it in, we had to make those same changes to where it's already located in the disconnection from the sanitary sewer. And so this is the final amendment to cover that change. So that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Any clarifying questions for Jamie at this time?
Mr. Mayor,
Yep.
we talked about this last time, and I was thinking if you have a discharged sump pump or water further than 10 feet away, and then it still seeps onto the sidewalk or into the street, that would constitute a nuisance, particularly in the wintertime when it freezes?
It would constitute a nuisance, and we have written the ordinance so that we would like to provide the opportunity to surface drain, but if it's not feasible, then we have in the ordinance that they would have to connect under a nuisance.
So I have at least 3 in my ward. Would I bring them to you probably?
You would, yes.
Or the code enforcement?
Myself or code enforcement.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Counselor. Any other clarifying questions from Council?
Yeah. Just a quick one. So NEC update is every 3 years or every 2?
It's every 3 years,
So in a couple months, we'll see you back here.
potentially.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other clarifying questions? All right, seeing none, then we'll open up for any public comment on this item tonight. All right, seeing, just name, please. Actually, no, you spoke at the committee, so this time name and address.
Bob Manning, 2908 West 3rd Street, Cedar Falls. Is that good?
That's perfect.
Okay. One thing that the Home Builders Association feels strong about, and we're concerned because it'll come up in the next electrical code, is the requirement to have the plug-in for an electric vehicle. And not everybody is going to move into a new house. These would be new houses as they're constructed. But to have an electrical outlet for charging your car is expensive, and we fully support making it mandatory for the contractor to present the cost to the customer, to the homeowner, but only that way, so that they get a chance to know what the cost would be and can decide for themselves if they want electric plug-ins or not. So we'll be watching the 26 version, if that's when it comes out for something like that. But we support safety, but we don't like to see it mandatory on every homeowner. It may be cheaper to do it during the construction of the property, granted, and that's something that the homeowner can decide and with his or her contractor. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Manning. Is there anyone else for a public comment this evening? All right, seeing none, we will close the public hearing and look for a motion on a resolution approving and authorizing submission of the, I skipped an item. Don't do that. A motion to pass an ordinance amending Chapter 7, Building and Building Regulations of the Code of Ordinances relative to amendments, National Electrical Code adoption, and National Electrical Code amendments upon its first consideration.
So moved.
Second.
Motion seconded and open for council discussion. Seeing none, it goes to a roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That motion carries. Moves us to item number 5, public hearing on the FFY24 Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report for Community Development Block Grant funded activities from July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. Do we have a motion to receive and file?
So moved.
Second.
Motion seconded, and all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. Madam Clerk, any written communications?
I have no written communications, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, and that takes us to staff comments, and we've got Melissa Ding. Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As a requirement from the Department of Housing and Urban Development, otherwise known as HUD, the Community Development Department submits for review and approval the Federal Fiscal Year 24 Community Development Block Grant and Home Program Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, otherwise known as CAPER, which is much easier to say. The report contains the progress made on Community Development Block Grant funded activities from July 1st of 2024 through June 30th of 2025, which is federal fiscal year 24. Notice was published in both English and Spanish in the Waterloo Cedar Falls Courier on October 2nd, 2025, inviting public comment. The Housing Commission has reviewed the CAPER at their September 17th meeting and recommended approval subject to the required 15-day public comment period and the City Council public hearing, which is today. If you have questions, please let me know.
Thank you, Melissa. And any clarifying questions from council at this time? All right, seeing none, we will open it up for public comment if anyone would like to speak on this item tonight. All right. Also seeing none, we will close the public hearing and look for a motion resolution approving and authorizing submission of the city's FFY24 Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, CAPER, for Community Development Block Grant funded activities from July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and seconded, and any discussion from council? Seeing none, requires a roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That motion carries. Moves us to item 6, public hearing on proposed amendment to the future land use map by changing the designation from high-density residential to neighborhood commercial and mixed use of property located at 2309 and 2323 Main Street. Do you have a motion to receive and file?
So moved.
Second.
Motion seconded, and all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. Madam Clerk, any written communications?
I have no written communications, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And for staff comments, got Tom Weintraub. Thank you, Tom.
It always happens to me, when I'm really not good.
It's kind of nice. Usually we have one person just speak constantly, and now we're just rotating through all of them. Which, while he's taking it, thank you all for taking the time to be here tonight.
There we go. Okay, good evening. I apologize for the technical things. The item that you will discuss, good to look at these both. This is land use amendment is related to rezoning. There'll be separate votes. One if you choose to amend the land use map, and then the zone. Then we're doing that for the rezoning if you approve. The site is located at 2306 and 2309 South Main Street. It's there at the corner of Searly Boulevard. It's currently a pet related business, and then the Centra, the Prime Mart. And what they're proposing would be to redevelop this as a mixed-use site with 2 commercial units on the ground floor and then residential above. Again, that's what's proposed. Okay. The land use map criteria amendment, that's the criteria for rezoning. Does the land use currently match what would be allowed under the rezoning? This plan is consistent with the College Hill vision plan. College Hill recommends this as a gateway location, that there be pedestrian and bike oriented, and to create sort of a sense of arriving. And again, at this corner, because the building will be up close to the right-of-way, it sort of achieves that goal of the plan. We've seen the recent Main Street improvements, so definitely could handle the additional traffic. So looking at the future land use map, currently those 2 properties are the land use says high density residential, which really is not consistent with the neighborhood commercial and mixed use, and it's not really consistent with the C2 zoning. And so the recommendation would be to change that to the neighborhood commercial mixed use. Okay, and some of the land use categories looking at this, it includes a whole range of low impact commercial uses providing neighborhood services. It accommodates service related commercial uses, allows residential units above the commercial development, and includes low to moderate building and impervious surface coverage. And I will say that if the rezoning goes forward and they'll change the land use plan, they'll come back with a site plan for council to review. The proposed criteria for rezoning is that they should have access to public services. This is in a developed area of the community. We've just updated the street as well as the sidewalk and all those, so this area is ripe for redevelopment. And then the thing to look at is this consistent with what the future land use map says at the moment, which it isn't, which is why we're recommending that the future land use be amended. And I would be happy to answer any questions. P&Z, as you noted, recommended approval of this.
Thank you, Tom. And any clarifying questions from council at this time?
Mayor?
Yep.
A question. Refresh my memory on C2 zoning, parking requirement for retail component and residential.
Okay, so the parking requirement for retail is based upon the use. And so the site plan they submitted, we looked at the number of spaces. And then with the parking, it's 1 space per bedroom currently under the C2.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Any other clarifying questions from council at this time?
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Weintraub. Would there be any use in extending that commercial district on up, or is it just by request that we're reacting to this request at this time?
This is just by request.
And then any future change would have to be by request of those property owners at that time as well?
That is correct,
Okay.
yes.
Fantastic. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other questions from council? All right, seeing none, thank you, Tom. And we will open up to public comment if anyone would like to speak on this item tonight. Just name and address, please.
Craig Fairbanks, 405 Spruce Hills Drive. Happy to see this project. This is a vast improvement. And if you look at the pictures and the buildings, this is what flexibility should be about, is something that's totally better than what was there. This will be a vast improvement to that intersection. So I'd like to see that. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Fairbanks. Anyone else from the public that would like to speak tonight? All right, seeing none, we will close the public hearing and look for motion and resolution approving an amendment to the future land use map by changing the designation from high-density residential to neighborhood commercial and mixed use of property located at 2309 and 2323 Main Street.
So moved. Second.
Motion and second, and open for council discussion. Or seeing none, just requires a roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That motion carries. And that moves us to item number 7, public hearing on the proposed rezoning from R4 multiple residential district to C2 commercial district of property located at 2309 Main Street. Do we have a motion to receive and file publication?
So moved.
Second.
Motion seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. Madam Clerk, any written communications?
I have no written communications, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And again, for staff comments. Got Mr. Rancho, I think it's the same item, so any other clarifying questions from staff at this time? Or staff, I'm sorry, guys. Council, rough day. All right, seeing none, we will open up public comment if anyone would like to speak on this item tonight. All right, seeing none, we will close the public hearing and look for a motion on passing the ordinance amending the zoning map by removing approximately 0.15 acres of land located at 2309 Main Street from R4 multiple residence district to C2 commercial district upon its first consideration.
So moved.
Second.
Motion seconded, and any discussion from council? If not, roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That motion carries. Moves us to item number 8, further continuance to November 3rd, 2025 of a public hearing to consider entering into an agreement for private development with River Place Properties 2 LC. Quick background to this, we're still working on the development agreement. We had a few things that we wanted to still finalize with it, so at this point, just continuing it to the next meeting and should have it then. So is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and seconded, and any discussion from council? Seeing none, any from the public? Also seeing none, requires a roll call vote, please.
Voice vote.
Oh, requires a voice vote, please. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. Thank you, Attorney Rogers. Moves us to old business. Item number 9, passed ordinance number 3125, amending Chapter 26 zoning of the Code of Ordinance relative to the requirement to obtain a land use permit to be clarified in a new Section 2626 application of provisions and a retitled Section 2629 land use permit upon the second consideration. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Second. And then I do believe we've got a staff presentation on this. Thank you, Chris. So we kind of took some of the comments that we had from the discussion the last time, wanted to bring back some clarifying information from staff on some of the discussion that was had, and then we can open the discussion after that. So again, thank you for bringing it, Chris.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Mayor and Council. We just had some good questions last time, and I just came to clarify. There are 2 permit reviews that we go through with every permit that comes through to the city. One is there are more than just these 2, but these are the 2 we're talking about: zoning and building. And so with zoning, we have the land use permit, which is where we check compliance with the zoning code requirements, and also with easements and other aspects of the property. Building permits check compliance with the building code. Primarily Chapter 7 and Chapter 11 of our Code of Ordinances, plus international codes. Up on the screen is a listing of the typical permits that we currently issue land use permits for. You see the yes down the line there. On the right-hand side, you can see the building permit reviews that happen concurrently with those. Typically, the ones that have both are entered by the building department, and then we have our review that happens concurrently with the building department looking at their aspects of those. So, and we can go back to this slide if you have any questions on it. If land use review is required, the cost is a flat $45. And if building review is required, cost is a sliding scale based on the estimated value of the project. All fees are adopted are reviewed and adopted by council annually, every single year, typically in June, and then those go into effect usually on July 1st. Well, they do go into effect on July 1st every year. If both permits are required, they do get one invoice that itemizes both fees. And up on the screen is an example of what the fees look like, or what that invoice looks like, showing both as line items. And just for quick clarification, currently in our code, the land use permit requirement is already stated in most of these cases with the land use permits that are in this list. And in other cases, sometimes it's only implied, or we have, when somebody's like, oh, where's that required? Oftentimes we have to reference, 3 different areas of the code in order to say this, to show them how it's required. This is just a clarification of what is already in there. So that's an important point to bring forward right now. I hope that makes sense. We're really just clarifying what our current practice entails and what the code currently requires. It's just a clarification and puts it in one spot, really, for us to be able to say, hey, it's a usability aspect of the code is really what that is. So anyway, if you have any questions, I'm here.
Thank you, Mr. Seavey. And then a few comments from my side. One, digging into this with staff. It has been something we've been doing, but I think for me, from some of the big issues that have come up with projects in the past, I'm very supportive of doing the practice, just because it seems like usually the biggest issues that will come up is when somebody gets too far down the road and builds a fence that didn't have it checked where it should be, and now we're telling them, you're going to have to remove the fence, move it, rebuild it. So I'm in support of that. I know in my conversations with a few of you, some of the questions came up around just the permit fee and maybe feeling that the fee was too much. So that is a conversation we can have as well. We approved that fee amount as part of our fee schedule. So that is something that we can discuss as well if we maybe feel the fee should be less, more. I'd say just what I say with any fees, it's always there is staff time involved. So if we don't have a fee, it does mean that staff time is getting paid through the property tax base and through property taxes. And I know it's never easy to say this should be a fee, this shouldn't be a fee. And we kind of talked with staff a little bit about how often do these usually take. Usually it's maybe, I shouldn't say usually, but if it's a simple one, it might take half an hour to kind of look through it. More complex one, that can take time. So it's not as usually just a quick, scan a piece of paper. And it depends on the person bringing in the project. If they've clearly laid out a site plan, it's easier to tell. If they haven't, it's a little more work. But so I think conversation, I felt, really came down to, one, are we comfortable with clarifying this in the code and having that land permit in there, land use permit? But then also the cost piece is something we can review as a separate conversation if we feel that fee imposed is too much, or if we want to do something else with that. So just some of my thoughts, and otherwise I'll open it up to council conversation.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
I want to entertain the idea of talking about the cost. I like the idea of making it clear and concise in one spot, and everybody can see what's really needed. In my mind, if a person is getting a building permit, that should include or give you a discounted land use permit fee. Easements you can look up online. You can find those yourself. You don't necessarily need to have staff time to do that. So I think that would justify some savings for the citizen. That's what I'd be interested in, figuring out what we could do there.
Just as I'm writing it down, essentially maybe looking at if you're already getting the building permit.
Correct.
Maybe the land use fee is different, doesn't apply.
It's included.
These lines. Yep.
Just, pro bono, or what's the word?
I don't think that's the word, but get what you're saying.
Mr. Mayor?
Yep.
I'm not in favor of making a change to the current fee system, and this is why. Like you just said, either way, someone's got to pay for it. So it's either paid for by the permit and the fee from the permit, or it's paid and spread out to the tax of all the citizens. I understand the concern, and I don't doubt there are people who think the cost of the permit is too high, but feel confident in saying that there are also people who utilize the system and don't find a problem at all in it. My husband being one of them, both in our private life and in his work life. So I don't wish to change something that I don't think majority of citizens, I think the majority of citizens in Cedar Falls and property owners are okay with the current fee structure.
Thank you, Counselor.
Mr. Mayor?
Yep, go ahead.
I would just reiterate, I maintain that our current practice of how we go through these different processes is different than the ordinance. I looked up land use permit as a phrase within our current ordinance. There are 8 hits in 7 sections. Some of them that were on the screen before aren't listed in there. So even if our current practice is to say you need, John Q, member of the public, you need a land use permit for this, our ordinance doesn't say that. And so what I mentioned last meeting we discussed this is a change. And in that discussion and dialogue about this is a new law, a change, it was talked about this isn't a change at all. This is exactly what we're doing. I get that. We might be doing it, but we don't have it supported by a law. And the yes and no section of the land use versus the building permit was contradictory indication 2 weeks ago when I said, hey, do we have to pull a permit today for repaving a driveway that's already in existence? And it was, yes, we need a paving permit for that. There's no mention of a paving permit. These are new permits and thus new fees. I wasn't even going to fight for fees on this because that's not part of the ordinance. That's a resolution that we set separately later. But I'm not in favor of this land use permit change, primarily because the first reason we brought this up was to clarify how the members of the public understand what the process is to get a land use permit. That's it. This add-in of all these other places where, well, this is how we do it and how we'd like to do it by law, it's restrictive and an overreach. I know that there is a sentiment that say we just want to trust. And I'm not here to disparage anybody, but we're all people who are prone to make mistakes. We've seen time and time again that we've all made mistakes. We have to be able to look at this a little more sensibly. And when I'm asking what's the change and seeing this as new and don't get any rationale as to tell me why this isn't indeed new and a change, I have to resist this because it's too heavy-handed to just say, let's go ahead and start feeing for things that we weren't before just because we'd like to. So for various reasons that I've kind of rambled through tonight, I'm still in opposition to this ordinance, and I think others should vote it down until it is more appropriate to what's good for the common citizen.
Okay. Thank you, Counselor. And I can absolutely respect a lot of the thoughts and concerns with it. I would say just a few of the phrasing of saying we are doing this wrongfully without legal support, I would say, just to paraphrase or to clarify your opinion, not the legal opinion, because I know this is something I've talked with staff about and made sure, okay, are we doing things appropriately and feel that we are. But I can absolutely understand the concern around, are we imposing more restriction on people through the process, and a concern that this is doing that. Any other thoughts, conversation from council?
I might as well say something.
Go ahead.
I concur with Councilor Canfield on his thoughts for the most part. Even though staff might have said or is saying that it's somewhere in our code already by practice, I don't think we should do some of this by practice. You do a temporary sign, you need a land use permit. Why? I mean, you put an easel out there, what kind of temporary sign? Yeah, so you got to define that. This needs more work. It's not ready for prime time, I don't believe. Along with the previous mentioned cost absorbed into this, because the citizens get nickeled and dimed all day long. The fact that they don't complain because they don't think that they have leverage to complain, that doesn't justify us beating them over the head for another $45, which to me, what are they really doing? They're looking at a map and seeing what the easement is. Well, the citizen can do that themselves. They can research that and find that out. So I don't I'm against the cost, and then what Mr. Ganfield said. Turn it down and review it and fine tune it. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other thoughts, conversation, discussion?
Mr.
Counsel?
Mayor,
Yep.
I don't appreciate the minimizing of people's jobs. Having looked at a map myself of my own yard and having some confusion over it, there's an easement along the edge of my property that's not maintained by myself or anyone else. And I didn't understand what it was for. It wasn't clearly marked. So then I reached out to the city and spoke with staff, and they helped me to understand that. And it wasn't clear to them either. They had to do some work. It took some time to understand that it was an old utility easement. And then I had to figure out who was supposed to be responsible for it, because it wasn't the city and the utilities had abandoned it. It's far more complicated than just looking at a map. So I don't appreciate that. And to be clear, we are doing these things, and each of these items listed is explained within the code. It tells you what a temporary sign is, what it qualifies, where it goes, all of that information. So I think if folks have concerns about the particular things on this list, we are always open to hearing from folks and having that discussion. And so please feel free to reach out. I think this process is clarifying what we're already doing, and so we should make this change. And then again, if folks want to reach out and talk about specific issues, and I'm happy to discuss changing the fees if that is constricting folks from doing work at their own property. So yeah, I'm going to vote in favor of this change.
Thank you, Counselor. Any further conversation, discussion from Council?
Mr. Mayor?
Yep, go ahead.
If I may, can I have somebody from staff define what is a temporary sign in regards to political yard signs in this season that we're in? I look up temporary sign in our own ordinance, and it says that it can't exceed 100 square feet in area or 2.5 feet in width. Does a political sign count as a temporary sign for which a member of the public now has to permit themselves to use their freedom of speech, or not?
Yeah, so just to clarify there, yes, there are some standards there in regard to temporary signs. Signs that are political in nature, we actually do not regulate. Just from a constitutional standpoint, that's from direction from Attorney Rogers on that, so.
Just clarify quick, just if I can build off that, just to make sure. Is that clear somewhere, just so residents know? So if someone sees this and thinks, oh, I can't put up that sign, because would it apply to all just like standard signs that anybody puts in the ground, or?
It's a good question. Truthfully, we're overdue for an update to our sign ordinance, and that's something that is on our radar, especially as we're looking at a more comprehensive update to the zoning code.
Mr. Mayor, quick question, Chris.
Yep, go ahead.
The common thing you see is garage sale signs. They're all over the place.
What, sorry, what signs?
Garage sale signs.
Garage sale signs.
They're not as big as was described, what was it, Dustin, 3 feet wide or 2 feet wide? 2.5 or something. I mean, they're usually small. Most of the time, my understanding is that they're always supposed to be out of the right-of-way, not in the right-of-way. Often you see them in the right-of-way. But my understanding is code enforcement, because it's kind of a nice neighborhood thing, let them do it. Is that how we treat that?
That's a code enforcement question, but it's a relevant thought in the sense. My understanding is that if there's a sign in between the sidewalk and the street, typically code enforcement will pick up that sign. But yes, by all means.
And don't go too far into it, just because I want to say this is off topic of this ordinance.
I'm just going to jump in real quick, and we manage signs in the right-of-way with code enforcement. Yard sale signs, we do tend to let them be up from Thursday evening through Sunday, because it is a nice thing to do for the neighborhoods, and as long as they aren't obstructing a view of a corner or anything like that, we do let them stay up, and then we follow up on Mondays.
Thank you, Jamie.
Appreciate that.
So, Mr. Mayor?
Yep.
Just as a follow-on, I mean, as a point of common word definition, we don't have anything in the sign temporary definition section that says political signage is exempt. Attorney Rogers, I don't want to put you on the spot, but we've fixed some improper coding in the past in regards to freedom of speech protections. This new land use permit, by definition absence, could misconstrue for the average citizen that in order to erect a political sign, I have to get a land use permit. We need to have clear language in our ordinance. It's too ambiguous to say that now you have to have a land use permit if you are constructing or installing a sign or temporary sign. Average John Q. Public reads that and goes, well, it is indeed a temporary sign for this election season. I guess my freedom of speech rights shall be infringed by this land use permit. We can't pass this ordinance without fixing those kinds of ambiguities. It's not about arguing about trusting or disparaging or anything. It's a huge sweeping ordinance change, and it has to be right.
Thank you, Counselor. And Attorney Rogers, I do want to follow on if I could you speak to just any of your thoughts, concerns around, does this inappropriately limit anything in that sense?
Well, it doesn't. The city's not going to enforce against somebody who wants to put up a political sign in their yard any type of specification, because, in my opinion, it would infringe on their right to free speech. This ordinance, as proposed, doesn't say you can't put up political signs or regulate them in any fashion. I agree with Mr. Seavey that the sign ordinance desperately needs updated, and that needs to get on the priority list. But if the ultimate question is if this ordinance amendment is constitutional, it is. Is it void for vagueness? No, it does the job. And what's more, if someone were concerned about a political sign and sought a land use permit, we'd say that's not necessary.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yep, go ahead.
You know, that confusion is not, you know, I mean, it's not clear in our existing ordinances or the proposed ones. And so I think we're searching for a problem that doesn't exist. Campaigns have been run in this city for years, and I don't ever remember this being an issue where people were up in arms because they felt that they needed some sort of permit, and I don't think this change is going to affect that at all. And so I'm in favor of it. I do agree, my reading of the ordinance is the same, that this is how we apply it. There are so many cross-references that it can be confusing for somebody that's looking at the code. And so this helps centralize those cross-references, so it makes it clearer for anybody looking at what the requirements are for the permit. And so I'm in favor of the changes that are proposed.
Thank you, Counselor. Any thoughts, discussion? Yep, go ahead.
I had voted, I was against this, and I'm getting some clarity on it. And to Mr. Seavey's comments, there's still work to be done, and I think this is a step towards that. So I appreciate the work that staff is putting into this. The only clarification I have, Mr. Rogers, is I see those garage sale signs, and I've yet to go there, and they would sell me their garage.
Were you just sitting on that one?
You'll come to my house.
Council, it's a matter of negotiation.
It is.
Right.
Well stated, Attorney Rogers. Thank you, Counselor.
Everything's for sale all the time.
Mr. Mayor.
Yep, go ahead.
I echo what Mr. Hallbaker had to say. I think we're searching for maybe an issue that, while we can all say there's opportunities maybe for additional clarity, I think that's probably true in any section of our code, and that's why we continually have to update these and look at these. And excuse me, Mr. Rogers made a good point that the signage section of this in particular we need to look at in our code, and that's great. But you know, we've approved some temporary signage here just within the last 6 weeks for a festival out north of town. So I mean, I do think there's opportunities that the public can still engage with us, but by and large, I think that this chart was actually quite helpful to me. So I appreciate whoever put this together with land use versus building permit, yes or no. I would suspect that each of these cases probably has some unique intricacies, and so kudos to staff for having to answer probably quite a few of these questions, even back to what Ms. Christman was saying with easement issues with her property. So is it perfect? No. Is it a step in the right direction? Yes. So I'm comfortable with moving this forward. Thanks.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other thoughts, discussion from council before we go to public comment? All right, seeing none, we'll move to public comment if anyone from the public would like to speak on this item tonight. Just name, please.
Craig Fairbanks. I'm not necessarily against the land use itself. I am against the fee, in particular for existing homes who are already our taxpayers. We are getting nickel and dime for this stuff. This is, if you're going to go in and replace a driveway, you know, it's a 5-minute conversation, and customers can go out and verify their own stuff. Yes, it's helpful if you're in violation. There's no question about that. But we seem to pass a lot of things that we think that our taxpayers' dollars should pay for. And yeah, this is only a $45 fee on top of our street lighting, on top of our sewer things, all the other stuff that goes on. And we seem to get in the habit of passing that off to somewhere else, so it's not part of our taxes. What do our taxes cover? Do they cover a consultation with people without having to pay for it? I think it does. My real attitude about this is, unfortunately, the more I hear, is get out of my yard. Why should you regulate my yard, ever? To me, it just seems to make sense that you just keep creeping closer and closer to the front door. These things can be done without fees. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fairbanks. Yep. Just name and address, please.
Oh, Kent Larson. Don't need the address, I already gave it there, Mayor.
Yeah, we should have it.
I would agree with Mr. Fairbanks. I'm probably going to have to replace my driveway in the next 5 years. I just had it leveled. That was expensive itself. Why do I have to pay another $45 fee for something that's extremely obvious that this is exactly where it needs to be and be replaced? It's common sense. I can GIS it. I can do several things. If you have, there is a point, once again, to say what he did. We have certain fees that should be built in as citizens that are good paying taxpayers, okay? That should be assumed that sometimes the city's going to say, this is a little thing for us to check, let's check it. It's not tough for your city engineer to look at that address and say, you know what, there's really nothing fancy on that driveway, okay? And it's easy for your code enforcement when they're driving around and say, we've got a few that looks like they may be close, and you don't have to add that. I don't mind the land use permit, but don't charge me for it. Many people walk by my yard. It's not hard to know who lives there. It's very obvious where my driveway needs to go. I don't want to pay $45 for someone to tell me that I can now replace my driveway. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Larson. Is there anyone else for a public comment this evening? All right, seeing none, bring it back to council. Any further conversation from the group? Otherwise, requires a roll call vote, please.
5 voting aye, 2 voting nay. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That motion carries. In just case anybody watching has questions, like the conversation about the fee will be something we would discuss at another point with our fee schedule and some of those. So it's not that this is ignoring that, but that would be at a further conversation with that part. So that moves us to item number 10, pass ordinance number 3126, amending chapter 26 zoning of the Code of Ordinances relative to regulations governing the allowance of accessory dwelling units as outlined in section 26142, accessory uses, section 26193.1, general provisions, section 26193.4, neighborhood medium frontage, section 26197, building functions, and section 26126, detached accessory structures upon its second consideration.
So moved. Second.
Motion second, and any discussion from council? All right, seeing none, any from the public? All right, also seeing none, requires a roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That motion carries. Item number 11, pass ordinance number 3127, amending Chapter 26 zoning of the Code of Ordinances relative to parking requirements for studios and one-bedroom apartments in multi-unit buildings as outlined in Section 26-220, off-street parking spaces, and Section 26-181, CHN College Hill Neighborhood Overlay Zoning District upon its second consideration. Motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion and seconded, and any discussion from council? I'll seeing none. Any from the public? Also seeing none, requires a roll call vote, please.
Six voting aye, one voting nay, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That motion carries. Moves us to the consent calendar. So the following items will be acted upon by voice vote on a single motion without separate discussion, unless someone from the council or public requests that it be considered separately. Are there any requests from council? And I will pull item 13. Quick. Any others from council? Otherwise, any from the public? All right, seeing none, I'll look for a motion to approve items 12 through 16 of the consent calendar, excluding item number 13.
So moved. Second.
Motion seconded. And really quick, I'm just going to say, I know Commissioner TW, Chairman of the Human Rights Commission, couldn't be here tonight, and he did just want to express his thank you to Thomas Davis, who's on there for the Human Rights Commission for resignation for his time and efforts to the group. So thank you, Thomas. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. Move to item number 13, approve the following recommendation of the mayor relative to the appointment of members to boards and commissions. Rosa Drucker for the Human Rights Commission and David Hartley for the Planning and Zoning Commission as a reappointment. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. And open for council discussion. I just wanted to pull it quick. I don't know if I had a chance to see if Rosa is, there she is. Would you, if everyone's okay, would it all right if I have Rosa come up and give a quick introduction? Thank you, Rosa.
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone. My name is Rosa Drucker, 603 West 22nd Street. Is there anything particular I should share?
No, just wanted to, one, say thank you. I know I had a conversation with Rosa, just kind of talking through her background, mediation, and a lot of really great conversation around human rights work in the community. So otherwise, if anything pertinent that you just want to share about your background, or?
No, well, just I'm very new to this community. I've been here for about 2 months, and it is very important to me to try to be involved in the community and get to know a little bit better the place that I'm calling home. Professionally, I have a number of years of experience in human services. I've worked a lot with people experiencing housing instability, and then, as Mayor Loddick mentioned, I currently work as a mediator, so hopefully that background can inform the work on the Human Rights Council or Human Rights Commission. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from council? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Rosa. Let's bring it back to council. Any discussion? All right. Otherwise, seeing none, any discussion from the public? All right. Also seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. That brings us to our resolution calendar. So the following items will be acted upon by a roll call vote on a single motion unless somebody requests otherwise. Is there anyone from council that would like to request anything? All right, seeing none, is there any from the public? 35. That one will be in the ordinances when we get to it afterwards. Okay. 24? 24. All right, item 24, any other from the public? All right, seeing none, I'll look for a motion to approve items 17 through 33 of the resolution calendar, excluding item number 24.
So moved.
So, second.
Motion and second, and requires a roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That motion carries. That'll take us to item number 24. To look for a motion and resolution approving and authorizing execution of an agreement with Diamond Doctors of Iowa LLC relative to reconstructing the infields at Birdsall Park. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, and any discussion before we move to public comment? All right, seeing none, we'll move to public comment if anyone from the public would like to speak tonight. Yeah, go ahead. Just name, please.
Bob Manning. Could you tell me a little bit more about that? We're working with baseball people also, and I'd like to combine efforts.
We can get you more information. Quick background is it's just making improvements to the current infields. They've been getting a little bit dated and just needing some refreshing. And it's been on the plan for a while of something we've been wanting to work on. So it's really just taking the existing fields, the three main ones right by the main concession area, and working on new infields for them just to kind of refresh what we've got there.
Okay. And the Diamond Doctors, is that an easy name if I search Secretary of the State?
Yeah, yep, it should be. I think it's a local Iowa company, I believe.
Pardon me?
It's a local Iowa company out of Benton, so you should be able to find them.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manning. Any other public comment for this item tonight? All right, seeing none, bring it back to council. Any further discussion? If not, requires a roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That motion carries. Takes us to ordinances. Item number 34, pass an ordinance amending Chapter 16, offenses and miscellaneous provisions of the Code of Ordinances relative to fireworks upon its first consideration. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion seconded. And Attorney Rogers, did you want to say anything clarifying on this?
Only to update our code to comply with Iowa law on allowable fireworks. This is the minimum allowed, but of course, council still in the ordinance has the discretion to add dates in the spring of every year.
Thank you, Attorney Rogers. Any discussion from council? Seeing none, any from the public? Also seeing none, requires a roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That motion carries. Moves us to item 35. Look for a motion to pass an ordinance amending Chapter 2, Administration of the Code of Ordinances relative to powers and duties upon its first consideration. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion seconded. And quick background for me, this was kind of following up from a committee discussion we had on the form of government and that piece a while back. This is to update our definition of the mayor's duties. It was updated a few years back and provided some confusion about the role of the city administrator, role of the mayor. So this is to update to reflect similarly to how the state defines the role of mayor, whereas it's the CEO, executive authority over the city, except for that which we've delegated by the ordinances to the city administrator. So it's really just to make that match closer to the code. Looked at a lot of the other cities in the state with similar structures as us and made sure that we're kind of falling in line with that. And I think, too, as we move ahead with the hiring process for a new city administrator, this helps give that clarity of what those expectations are between those roles. Otherwise, I'll open up to any council discussion. Otherwise, seeing none, open up for public discussion in this item. Yep. Just name, please.
Craig Fairbanks. In addressing this issue, I wonder if you delegate to a city administrator, are those permanent delegations, or should you just have the executive decision to do what needs to be done? That's the only question that I have. I think it's a good thought, but I just question. I don't want. I would prefer not to have those duties delegated as a permanent basis once you do it. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Fairbanks. And I can clarify quick, just for anyone, because it is a complicated thing for a lot of people watching. Essentially, in our Code of Ordinance, we have a definition of what the roles of the city administrator are and give some of those authorities. Ultimately, though, they only have those authorities as long as this body continues to allow them to have that. So we can always change per our council can always change as a body if they want to change those authorities. And then ultimately, that's where that responsibility, as I noted in the memo, comes back to us to make sure we're doing our job to provide that direction, that accountability, and ensure we're working closely with that position to help lead the city. So I do appreciate the question. I know it's been several conversations on this year. So otherwise, any other public comment on this item tonight? All right, seeing none, bring it back to council. Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor, if I may. I guess I see this as a code cleanup and nothing more. Attorney Rogers can correct me if I'm wrong, but regardless of what we define the mayor's powers of being in our ordinance, 372.14 of the state code would trump that anyway. And so if there's confusion, it's kind of akin to the land use permit that we're talking about. We're just having the same information in the first place you would look. And so because of that, I'm in favor of it, but I see it as nothing more than that, as a code cleanup to be consistent with the statutory language.
Hey, Counselor, I don't know if you wanted to comment on it.
No corrections from me.
Okay.
I know a lawyer often asks another lawyer rhetorical
I'm
questions.
safe.
So, thank you, Counselor. Any other discussion from council? All right, seeing none, requires a roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That motion carries. That moves us to bills and claims. Do we have a motion to allow bills and claims for October 20th?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion from council? Seeing none. Any from the public? Also seeing none, requires a roll call vote, please.
All members voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That motion carries. Moves to council updates and announcements. Any updates from council?
Mr. Mayor, may I request an update from staff?
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't remember if that's in the earlier portion, but Director Schrage, do you have an ETA on the roundabout on Ridgeway, I'm sorry, on Viking? When that might be open to traffic again?
Well, there's two sections of Viking under construction, both of which have a roundabout. So I'm
The eastern
assuming,
portion, out towards
near Menards
Golden
area.
China.
That one's looking like mid-November for opening.
Mid-November, okay.
Yep, we want to have it open before the Black Friday holiday. So
Cool. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Counselor. While you're at it, just want to update the other one too. On the other side of Viking, I think that's around.
that will be probably a week sooner or a little more. So and then Ridgeway Avenue is along the same timeline as mid-November. So
just generally mid-November for construction. Got it. Any other council updates, announcements? All right, seeing none, any council referrals? Didn't have any written, any pressing? If not, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate you coming out, and have a great rest of the week.